my research field is work and employment, and I'm very interested in all the contemporary changes that are occurring in work and employment. I say work and employment because I'm including unpaid work as well as paid work in this. And work is so important to people's lives. People spend the large part of their day at work, and they also spend a very large part of their lives at work. And work is very important to their identity. What occupation they have, what profession they have really shapes who they think they are, and it's extremely significant to their well-being. And then if you think that there are enormous changes that have occurred recently in the global world of work. We've seen digitisation, the introduction of the internet to many fields of life, and we've seen outsourcing of work to remote locations, we've seen an expansion of the service sector and the transfer of a lot of manufacturing work from the global north to the global south. We've seen an expansion of migrant labour coming from all over the world to metropolitan countries, and also big shifts in how work is conducted, whether it's done paid or unpaid. On the question of migrant labour, in a recent research project that I did on food manufacturing in Britain, it was significant that there were 57 nationalities in one factory in rural England. If you'd looked 30 or 40 years ago, there might have been 9 or 10 nationalities, mostly from the former colonies, but these were really from all over the world, so that's a very significant change as well. And a long-term interest of mine has been the way in which the same task or the same work might be done in many different ways, in different historical periods and in different countries. So work might be paid or unpaid, it might be done informally or formally, it might be done in the market, in the private sector, or it might be done in the public sector or in the not-for-profit sector. And the boundaries between all those different fields are changing all the time, and work shifts across them. And if you think of something like care work, you can see how care work might be done unpaid in the home, and some people might not think of it as work. In other places or times it can be done as paid work, either provided by the state or through the market, and then the people doing it definitely do think of it as work because it's paid. And I think it's extremely important for policy and for governments and for the social sciences to have a clear awareness of these shifting boundaries, particularly in the present time where a lot of work is being moved from paid work back to unpaid work. My current research is on what I'm calling consumption work, which is the work that consumers increasingly have to do in order to use something that they've bought or to buy it in the first place. So if you think people now do a lot of research online in order to buy train tickets or holidays. In the past there used to be travel agents who did that as paid work. Or we might think of IKEA, where the work of assembling the products that we buy at IKEA has to be done at home, either by ourselves or we have to pay somebody else to do it. So what I'm going to be looking at in this research project is 3 fields: the installation of broadband in the home, and in Britain everybody's got a nightmare story to tell about how they got their broadband installed, although in other countries it's often part of the fabric of the building. Then I'm going to be looking at food preparation work in France, in Britain and in Taiwan, where circumstances are very different. We have an enormous amount of ready prepared food available to us, and arguably people do less cooking than they used to, whereas in France they do as much as they ever did and they don't have nearly so much ready-made food. And then the third area that I'm going to look at is recycling, the domestic recycling of rubbish, which is something that's really grown over the last 10 years, although in other countries it's been going on for much longer. And the unpaid work that people do in the home, often children, of separating out plastics and yogurt pots and newspapers and bottles and putting them out for collection. And after collection, of course, they go into a big business where they get sent to other parts of the world and are recycled as new boxes and bottles. So I'm very fortunate in doing this research that I've got a large grant from the European Research Council, but I'm also very fortunate that I'm in the Sociology department at Essex, where my colleagues are doing projects on similar allied areas of work, of gender, of consumption, of advertising, and we all learn a lot from each other, and it's a very exciting research environment to be working in.